Goalkeeper's missed it. He tries to right hand and down goes the ball straight away. Oh, what a point to end it on.
So now it's a winner at the best. Yep. And winner
12 years for this. So drink it in.
The UFC middleweight golden glory still goes through on New Zealand.
What he'd love to be immortality as an athlete. 19.79. It's a goal,
playing
isn't
all
it?
day here and just have fun for football manager.
Welcome back, Atlantic Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition, and I have with me on this edition of the program, Airport Temple. Nice to have you, Airport.
Sorry, good evening, and always a pleasure to come talk sports on this Sunday.
Well, I have with me, of course, our tennis expert, Kelechi Clifford. Kelechi, nice to have you on this very special edition of Sports Extraordinary.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Okay, and I'll start with you, Kelechi. After the retirement of Serena Williams at the age of 41 a couple of weeks ago, it looks like too heavy on the wall of tennis that yet another greatest of all time, Roger Federer, has retired from the sport of tennis. What's your impression about these two heavyweights, as the greatest of all times in tennis, retiring, a male and female, at the age of 41?
I would say that Roger Federer's own was not really of a surprise because with the injury he's actually had in recent months, you know, he just knew that it was about time that he was definitely going to hang in his racket. But for Serena Williams, of course, it was a surprise. I mean, knowing that she just came to play the US Open and, of course, saying that that was going to be her last. But I would say that arguably these are one of the best in the business when it comes to tennis, both for female and the male. You cannot talk about tennis without mentioning Serena. You can also talk about tennis without mentioning Roger Federer. So they've actually, I think they've given it everything that they've got to play when it comes to tennis. They're winning, 23 Grand Slams, Serena, and of course they're winning 20 Grand Slam. It's a remarkable achievement for both of them, and of course I feel like it was really timely. The timing of the retirement is definitely right for both Serena and for both Roger Federer, especially for Roger Federer with the whole knee surgeries he's had in recent months. So I felt like it was really time for him to call it quits, and he's had a wonderful career. I mean, everything that he's actually achieved is something that he would always live up to, especially when we talk about him every single time with 20 Grand Slams. It's definitely the big three, one of the big threes that we talk about when it comes to tennis. And so it's been wonderful, and of course, we're definitely going to miss the two of them.
Tennis world will miss the two of the greatest of all time, Roger Federer joining Serena Williams, who of course everybody knows has the highest number of Grand Slam, 23 for Serena Williams, and we have another one who has 20 Grand Slams retiring as well. So two of them in a combined total of 43 Grand Slams have had to leave the scene, active scene, that's participating on the courts per se, but they've always said they will be joining us in some other part of tennis, not taking part in competitive tennis anymore. Kelechi, hang in there because this focus is mainly on tennis, but let me get the view of Epo Tempo here. Epo, like I mentioned to Kelechi, tennis world were ruining the retirement of Serena Williams, and all of a sudden it came that the Rod Laver Cup will be the end as well for Roger Federer. Do you think his decision to retire, which everybody has been asking him in the last decade or so, has to do with his multiple knee surgery, or the fact that he's had enough of tennis after winning 20 Grand Slams?
At 41, I don't think that it would have been a joy to continue or to see him continue to play, in some of the Grand Slams and ATPs. But somehow, since last year, he's not played there for 1 year now, and so the best is to leave the tennis. And for him, Serena Williams even made it easier. We would have seen Roger Federer, hang on earlier, but somehow he felt he can still play on. But I think that it is not a surprise, like Kelechi did mention. I think it's worthwhile. I think it's timely. At 41, he has achieved everything. This is one man who started his career, back then in his hometown in Switzerland in 1988, and since then he has been playing excellently. He has stayed a woman who has stayed at the top of the ATP rankings, for as long as he can ever emerge, and who also have achieved so much. Who has earned 130.5 million US dollars, third best in the rankings in ATP. It just shows you how massive and what he has achieved. So at this point, retiring, yes, came as a surprise to many because not many expected him. But the Lava Cup, it truly, has helped him, because I'm looking at which other tournament that would have, brought that level of that hype. Maybe the year end, but somehow he just decided to call it a quit. For me, timely. Yes, a lot still expected from him, but he knew for sure that there's no way he can achieve more than he has achieved so far. 20 Grand Slam is not mean feat, and I think that hanging his boot now, or hanging his racket, is just the best idea and the best suggestions coming his way.
Rod, talking about the Rod Lava Cup there from April reminds me of what is being called the Fedal. Kelechi, are you aware of this Fedal, and how did it end for you? Because Fedal, I understand, is coined from the word Federer and Nadal, and that looks like the highlight of the 2022 Rod Lava Cup that took place at the O2 Arena. It comes up, the final comes up today, but the highlight was that double between Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal on one side against Sox and Francis Tiafoe. Give me your impression about that Fedal, and how important it is that this was the last match that saw off Roger Federer from competitive tennis.
Well, I believe that anyone who's been following tennis would always make mention or make reference to the rivalry between Federer and Nadal. Is something that they've always enjoyed, especially when it comes to tennis. That was this great rivalry between the both of them, and for them to team up in the Rod Lava Cup was actually a joy to watch, because we've seen them compete against each other, and Nadal definitely being the most dominant, especially because of the surface that he usually dominates Federer, which is the clay court. I think the head-to-head is 14-2, if my brain can serve me right. But it's always a joy to see both of them compete, although it didn't really get, it didn't give them that result that they wanted, especially Federer, who definitely would have wanted to have ended the career with the win, but Francis Tiafoe and Jack Sock actually came up, top in that one, especially when they saved the match point and defeated the both of them. But that rivalry was something that we all enjoyed. Nadal and Roger Federer, it was always something, before Djokovic came in the mix, it was one rivalry that everybody would usually like to talk about. I think Roger Federer was someone who definitely liked to play against Rafael Nadal, and of course, Rafael Nadal also liked to play against Roger Federer. But above, notwithstanding, I think they have so much respect for each other, and seeing both of them shed tears during the end of the match was actually something that really touched everyone, especially the teammates, Djokovic, Casper Ruud, Tsitsipas, and the rest of them, of course. So I think there's so much respect and admiration for Roger Federer that he has for Nadal, and of course vice versa. And it was really tremendous to see both of them play tennis as long as Roger Federer could play. But Rafael Nadal is definitely going to continue, but it's a sad one that this rivalry is definitely going to come to an end.
Well, still with you, Kelechi, looking at these two tennis greats, Federer and Rafael Nadal. On the court, they are rivals. Off the court, they are very close friends. In fact, like you mentioned, both of them shedding tears there in that Rod Lava Cup double final. If you look at the two of these two greats in tennis, both of them have met 40 times, at the Grand Slam. If you remember, too, that both of them are Grand Slam career winners. They won on all the surfaces, but incidentally, the fans in New York will be ruining the retirement, because it is only at the US Open the two of them have never met, and it looks like the New York fans will be feeling that, these greats did not meet in competition against themselves, going how fierce and rivalry we've seen between these two. What will you think the fans in New York will be thinking, because they never met at the US Open in spite of meeting 40 times?
I feel like they would have been disappointed. They definitely would have loved to see that competition between Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer playing US Open, which is definitely something that is really weird, because they've actually met in other Grand Slams. And so they will be disappointed, especially that not happening, so many people would definitely not be happy with the retirement of Roger Federer. Maybe they would have loved to see Roger Federer and Nadal play in New York, which didn't happen. I'm pretty sure that they'll be disappointed with that. But notwithstanding, the other Grand Slams which they've played against each other and other ATP tournaments as well, definitely it was always fun to watch the both of them play against each other. But the US Open and the New York fans will definitely not be happy that they didn't get to see that happen.
Well, Epo, let me get you on the reaction of the fans there. You know, we're talking about Roger Federer's sojourn in tennis. He's won 8 times at the Wimbledon. And of course, you know, Wimbledon is a British Grand Slam, so to say, held out there in Wimbledon. Here, the fans in London had a standing ovation for everything done by Roger Federer in that exhibition. Did I say in that rollover with the double final between Sox and him? Of course, in a team of the best of Europe and of the rest of the world there. Fans, will the fans really across board, both in London and every part of the world, miss the phenomenal play of Roger Federer?
I think they will. They will. It's looking glaring now that we're going to see that stiff competition will not be there anymore. Before now, we used to have the 3 greats. I mean, the old gents, we used to call them Federer, Nadal, and then Novak Djokovic. We saw how he came, to achieving that feat before even Nadal and Djokovic. So you just must say that truly the fans want to see the best of the best. Recently, what we've seen now, before now, you are certainly sure that one of the trio, we get to win a Grand Slam, of the big tournament, the Masters. But now it's what we've seen so far, especially this year, is there's a bit of inconsistency in the part of the ATP players, male players in ATP, because you cannot really tell who gets to win. But during that era, when he was very competitive, you are sure that if it's not going to be Nadal, it's going to be Djokovic. If it's not going to be Djokovic, it's going to be Roger Federer. And that is what we've seen in some of the ATP, except when the likes of Alexander Zverev, the likes of Dominic Thiem, and the Medvedev came into the mix, and they started broadening the frontier of who gets to win Grand Slam. Otherwise, in the past 5 years, it's been about the trio, and so it bring that spirit of competitiveness. And I think that people that will miss, fans that will get to miss Roger Federer and their stiff competition is the US fans. We saw what transpired recently at just concluded the US Open, and we saw the beauty of that particular one, and we saw how the fans are eager to see their own, especially those who are great in tennis. So I think that is certain they're going to miss that. Yes, rivalry, but it brings the spirit of competition, and they get to see the best of the best. Recently now, inconsistency like we've seen in the female side of the WTA is what is playing out now in the male category.
Well, Kelechi, we can't talk enough about Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. In fact, at that doubles match in London, this is what Rafael Nadal had to say. When Roger leaves the tour, it is important to know that another very important part of me, of my life, is living too. That quote is coming from Rafael Nadal. He's saying that with the absence of Roger Federer, that an important part of him is too, he's living. Serena Williams gone, Federer gone. Will Rafael Nadal be going soon? Because we've seen him come up with what looks like a familiar injury. We saw injury plaguing Serena Williams, injury plaguing Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer. Rafael Nadal himself too now has had a couple of injury concerns. Remember, he pulled out of the Wimbledon and at the US Open as well because of injury concerns. So do you think at the age of 36, he too could be quitting tennis, having said that with the absence of Roger Federer, an important part of him too is leaving the tour?
I would say that Nadal is also nearing his end when it comes to tennis, especially with the injury problems he's had on his foot. And I mean, that's a strong statement to say that a part of him is leaving tennis, because sometimes most of these players, they feel alive when they compete with one of the best. And of course, Roger Federer was one of his greatest rivals, apart from Novak Djokovic, who is also one of his great rivals as well. Well, the absence of Federer just makes it look like the end is also coming for Rafael Nadal. Of course, 36. I'm pretty sure that he has just 1 or 2 Grand Slams to win. I believe so. He's definitely going to have a hand in 1 more or 2 French Opens because that is his area of specialty. But I would say that he also made mention of him also retiring from tennis. He wants to be a family man. Of course, with the newborn child, that is definitely going to be part of his goals as well, to take care. I feel like he's also looking at retirement as well. Joined Serena Williams and Rod Cox, and that statement that big part of him leaving tennis definitely is definitely going to give us a cue that Rafael Nadal would also be calling it quits in tennis as well.
Well, we'd like to take a break there. When we return from a break, we'll look at that spectacular part of the Roger Federer's tennis that a lot of fans around the world will be missing in his absence in competitive tennis. Let's take a break. When we return, there's still more to come, especially in boxing, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is in a massive win at the weekend. Stay with us here on Atlantic Television Network.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
I just have football mindset.
Welcome back. It's still Atlantic Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have Epo and of course our tennis expert Clifford bringing you up to speed with the retirement of Roger Federer from the competitive tennis at the weekend. But just before we get back to Roger Federer's retirement, breaking at this point in time is the fact that Floyd Mayweather, remember him, the legendary boxer, is still winning, and this time around not a competitive boxing per se, but in an exhibition boxing match yesterday in Saitama, Japan. he took down Asikuru Mikura in an exhibition match that a lot of people around the world will see, because it turned out to be, do I say, a legendary one. He remember him, Mayweather Jr. I'm sorry, Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather didn't lose in his entire career. He had a 50-0 record in boxing, and even in exhibition boxing, he still continues to win. This is his second exhibition match, and he has won yet again in far away Japan. Epo, a champion, always a champion, even in retirement.
Always a champion. He's one of the best when it comes to lightweight division, and we saw what he was able to do. Recently, he talked about coming out from retirement to fight again recently, and the other person were asking. I mean, this man is never tired, and when you win 50 and you've not lost, he never lost any. That shows you how massive he is. And so when it comes to exhibition, he also tries his best to see how far he can continue, getting maximum point, and then ensuring that he continues to be unblemished in his record. So I think it's a good one for him. It makes him to be fit. It makes him to still be close to the world of boxing, which for me matters so much.
Well, Kelechi, you are talking about the win for Floyd Mayweather. Like I mentioned, this is his second exhibition match. He took out Asikuru Mikura in Saitama, Japan. Remember, the opponent there is a champion in the mixed martial arts. Do you think that this boxer should continue to fight even after retirement, given the kind of money that is involved? We are told that he had a whooping $20 million, dollars for his effort last night.
You can say that he had a flawless career. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer when it comes to boxing, and of course, trying a mixed martial art and defeating Asakura yesterday, especially knocking him out in the last second of the round 2 was actually, just telling us that maybe he could actually also be successful in this mixed martial art as well. He could actually give it a try coming out from retirement. I mean, you never can tell. One thing I know for sure, that there's a whole lot of money that he's going to make every time he fights, or anytime he does any of the exhibition. Mayweather definitely is someone who's actually cashed out several times, and knocking out Asakura yesterday is just an indication that maybe he could actually come out of retirement and also be successful in this particular sport as well.
£20 million for the man who had retired many years ago, and one person, Kelechi, that was at the ringside in that match was Manny Pacquiao. You remember him, another heavyweight, another boxer of legendary note. He was at that exhibition match, and do you see Manny Pacquiao maybe at the stage 2, quitting? He has quit politics per se, getting back to the ring, maybe in an exhibition fight like this?
Well, I would say he's someone who's actually also had a decent boxing career, and coming to see Jimmy Floyd Mayweather actually in the ring was actually something that would have maybe triggered some spirit to also want to come out of retirement and actually join in this mixed martial art. But I would not really say that. I wouldn't really see that coming. He went into politics, but it didn't really turn out to be the one he wanted. But I feel like anything can actually happen when it comes to the world of sports. We've seen people come out of retirement several times, but it remains to be seen if he's actually going to join in that line of Jimmy Floyd Mayweather.
Well, for followers of boxing, if you remember, Floyd Mayweather did beat Don Moore in May. I think that one fight took place in Dubai in May this year. Now he's taking out Asikura in Saitama, Japan. Who knows? According to him, he still has yet another exhibition match sometime in the Middle East before the end of the year. A lot of money coming his way. $20 million US for less than, in fact, call it just 2 rounds there in a mixed martial arts exhibition boxing game. Well, let me get back to you, Kelechi, with our issue on discussion, which is the retirement of Roger Federer. A lot of people know Roger Federer as a very calm, disciplined tennis player with that powerful forehand, if you remember, and of course he's one man who has a lot loaded in his one-handed backhand. A lot of people will see some tennis players use double hand, but for Roger Federer it is one-handed backhand to return his serves. And of course, if you remember too, his movement on the court is always flawless. What do you really will miss about the style of play of Roger Federer? I'm sorry, Roger Federer from competitive tennis?
Well, I would say he's someone who's actually also had a fair, a decent boxing career, and coming to see Jimmy Floyd Mayweather actually in the ring was actually something that would have maybe triggered some spirit to also want to come out of retirement and actually join in this mixed martial art. Well, I would miss a whole lot, especially that backhand he talked about. I mean, he makes it look so effortless. I mean, it's something that he's always known for, and of course, like you said, the way he moves on the court is so effortless. He makes it look easy. I remember the words of Jimmy Connors. He said you can actually be a grass court specialist, a clay court specialist, a hard court specialist, or you're Roger Federer. I mean, he's someone who's actually has made name for himself. He's a specialty by himself. I mean, he's actually someone who can actually thrive in all of the surfaces, and that's one thing that I actually missed about him. The fact that he's actually successful in all of that. I mean, it's something that is really really rare to find these days, especially with the upcoming tennis players who actually struggle in some surfaces. But he was an all-rounder, and it's really something I'm going to miss about him. But his gameplay is something that I always enjoyed watching. Those forehand, those backhand as well, and of course his nature as well. He's someone who, when it comes to character, I mean, not many people have character these days, especially in sports. But Roger Federer, you've not really faulted him. He's not someone who lashes out in tennis when he's playing. He's someone who has a calm nature. He's someone who's respected. He doesn't really say much. Hardly smashes his racket. I'm not sure I've seen him done that before. He's someone who's actually a role model to so many people. And all around, I feel like I'm going to miss so many things about Roger Federer.
Well, talking about what feature will be missed by the tennis fans around the world about Roger Federer, he talked about that backhand, famous backhand, one-handed backhand there for Roger Federer. For me, that is eagerness to get to the court, to the net. I don't know, Epo, if you watch Roger Federer, you see him most times he's very eager to get to the net, at when he's on the court. You can't really fault him. He want to take you to the net, and he will be first to get into the net as well. What will you be missing about Roger Federer after these nearly 25 years on the courts?
A whole lot, especially, I mean, if you have been following Roger Federer, a lot of Nigerians have this affinity with Roger Federer. They share this sentiment with him and Serena Williams for obvious reason, because this man dominated the scene, for a very long time. Dominated and also won for himself, adorable accolades in terms of trophies and prize money. And so a lot of people truly will miss that vibe when you know that Roger Federer, for example, take example, the Lava Cup, just knowing that he's going to be part of the Lava Cup tripled the gate takings, and a lot of people truly want to see that thing that he comes with, this euphoria that he comes with in any event or any Grand Slam or any ATP Masters tennis event that is going to be part of, and that hype, that experience that a lot of people want to see. A lot of young gents, grew up wanting to be wanting to be like Roger Federer in the tennis world, and truly, I think that for me, I'll get to miss that hype. Yes, those on the court event that happens is also what builds that love for him, and those antics that we get to see. We may not get to see them anymore because those things are familiar when you talk about Roger Federer. And for me, generally, I think it's the hype that he comes with, that experience. When young gen goes for Grand Slam, and you know that you're going to play against Roger Federer, even if he's not fit enough, that getting to know that you're going to play with him is a lot of joy. A lot of people want to put in their best, not just the rivalry between him and Nadal and maybe Novak Djokovic, but that hype that he comes with, to major tournaments, for me, was very spectacular.
Spectacular hype coming. A lot of fans around the world. This is one tennis player that attracts fans to any tennis Grand Slam event. If Roger Federer is playing, you're sure that the tickets are almost bought up in any match where Roger Federer is playing. I'm not sure we can find that so often nowadays. But Kelechi is talking about the feature of Roger Federer that a lot of people around the world admire. There's this particular fact that between 2005 and 2010, Roger Federer, of course, reached 18 of 19 major finals, and within the period he won 12. But specifically between 2005 2010, which is about 10 years, between 2005 2007, which is just 2 years, he was in 10 consecutive Grand Slam finals, and he won 8. Do we have any tennis player now that can win 8 Grand Slams in 2 years, or win 12 Grand Slams in 5 years?
It's first of all, I mean, that is a remarkable achievement to start with. I mean, for someone who to dominate tennis within that period, and of course, it's something that is not really going to be an easy feat, especially how competitive it is right now. But I would feel like Novak Djokovic is someone that can actually achieve that. Apart from Novak, I'm not sure there's any other person because Novak Djokovic, of course, he's still a bit young, 33, and he still can actually do something like that. We saw how close it was last year in winning the calendar Grand Slam, but he just fell short to Dani Medvedev. But if there's someone who can actually come close to beating this Roger Federer's record, it's got to be Novak Djokovic. But aside him, I'm not really sure that there's anybody who can actually match that tremendous feat by Roger Federer.
Well, I put some question to you, Epo. Someone winning 8 Grand Slams in 2 years and winning 12 in 5 years. We have, like you mentioned, only Novak Djokovic could be around for such a feat. What of the other young players? Now we've started seeing, the likes of Carlos Alcaraz and maybe Casper Ruud. Do we have any? Do I say such number of wins within this generation of tennis players coming now?
We're yet to see. The reason why Roger Federer was able to do that is take a look at his time from 1998, to 2005. He was basically one of those who redefined, the tennis, and he brought in some bit of hype and